Who is the richest tech billionaire with the most actual technical skills? Most of these tech billionaires love to act like they're part of the engineering process. I'm sure they know a lot of the general stuff, but I don't seem to know any one of them who can actually do the technical engineering. Do you guys know anyone, and do you have proof of their capabilities? Jerry Yang, co-founder of Yahoo. He built it up from scratch, and his cubicle is a testament to how much knowledge he assimilated. Brin Page gotta be up there. They produced actual novel research results and managed to apply it to real life to build a company based on it. Bill Gates is a candidate. Not sure if Steve Wozniak ever ascended to the rank of billionaire, but he's another good candidate. Larry Page and Sergey Brin built Google on top of their PhD work, so can't be ruled out either. I mean, Microsoft would never have gotten any success if Bill Gates and Paul Allen hadn't been pretty good at programming. X200B. Granted, I don't know how well Gates' IT skills would hold up today, since it's probably been a while since he's had to program something himself. But it's still probably not bad. Jensen Huang, founder and CEO of NVIDIA. Not as much of a household name, but he went all the way from founding to growing NVIDIA what it is today. Was able to surpass existing CPU giants Intel and AMD with GPU and AI processor tech. NVIDIA is still a very flat organization, with him supposedly involved in the weeds. And his strategic decisions have been rock solid. I don't think she's a billionaire yet, but in case she is, or if she will be, Lisa Su of AMD has 3 degrees in electrical engineering from MIT. Woz isn't a billionaire, but I think he is one of the richest roll your sleeves up engineers that isn't just a businessman. Probably Bill Gates. Richard Hendricks, CEO of Pied Piper. Not a billionaire, I think, and dead now. But Satoru Iwata, the CEO of Nintendo, infamously stepped down on at least one occasion to work as a programmer Pokémon Gold Silver, most notably to make a tight deadline. Jim Simons, the billionaire behind Renaissance Fund, isn't your typical tech mogul, but he's got mad math skills. His math PhD is probably even harder to get than a CS1. His data-driven strategies in finance are heavily tech-focused, making him one of the richest tech-savvy billionaires out there. They were all extremely capable when they were becoming billionaires. However, by the time they became billionaires, they would have been pretty far removed from their practice, and their knowledge would be rapidly out of date. Bill Gates, for example, literally engineered the early Windows systems, but that was decades ago. I doubt he could make heads or tails of a current Microsoft update. Mark Zuckerberg quite literally built parts of the original Facebook platform. But even that was 20 years ago now. Gaben. I don't think he's a billionaire, but my vote would go to John Carmack for being one of the most talented. I got to see him in action when I worked at Oculus. And even though he had an executive job title, he was basically there as the ultimate individual contributor. Seemed to be incredibly knowledgeable about any topic. Could hold his own in any conversation no matter how technical. And was very likely the smartest person in just about any room. New age example is Judy at Epic Systems Healthcare Software. Larry Page and Sergey Brin, founders of Google. We studied their PageRank research just a few years ago at NYU. Their PhD work is still academically relevant today and far outshines whatever Bill Gates or Zuckerberg ever did as college dropouts. Google is still known to have the absolute best software engineering and researchers in the world. And that's in large part due to the academic culture the founders instilled early on. Woz? David Filo, one of the founders of Yahoo. He was a very hands-on coder. When I worked there and you needed hardware for a system, it had to be approved by a hardware committee, which he chaired. He would ask very specific questions about your code. It was obvious he looked at it and his questions were pretty insightful. He did a lot of work with FreeBSD. Yahoo was a FreeBSD shop for over a decade. He basically left Yahoo to work on FreeBSD. He's worth over $4 billion. Bill Gates is the most successful nerd to have ever lived. And he doesn't try to hide it. Don't understand the hate he gets. TBH. Who had the best tech talent as they built a billion-dollar company? Bill Gates. But after he stepped down from CEO and then the board, he shifted his time to his philanthropy efforts. I doubt he kept up with the latest languages and philosophies of modern technology. Who is a tech billionaire who could join one of their engineering teams and still produce quality code and design today? Probably Zuckerberg. Sergey Brin made headlines recently by getting into the weeds of Google's AI coding. He's probably closer to being in the trenches these days than Bill Gates. Defo Bill Gates. Gabe Newell. He's not a billionaire, but Tory Bruno, CEO of United Launch Alliance. This guy trying to figure out who Batman is? James Dyson. Not the richest but David Friedberg, a bestie on the All In podcast. Studied astrophysics at Cal. Contributed to 32 patents. One of Google's first employees and ran AdWords, Google's online ad platform. And is now a VC that funds ag, food and renewable-related startups. If you listen to the pod, his Science Corner segment definitely highlights his technical aptitude for science and technology. I'm not sure if he's reached $1 billion, but I'd nominate John Carmack. As others have correctly pointed out, probably Bill Gates, though since he stopped coding decades ago, there's a ton of modern and, let's be honest, not so modern shit that he has never learned because it was after he stopped coding. And a ton of stuff he's likely forgotten. So in terms of current usable knowledge and experience, he's most likely worse than your average hobbyist developer with some real projects under his belt. Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. Toby Lutke from Shopify. A little off topic, but it's a crime that Steve Wozniak isn't a billionaire. A good guy and actually really smart. Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA. He understands everything about GPUs from basics. Also you might dislike, but Mark Zuckerberg knows and is able to program better than most engineers. I'd suspect. IDK if Gates at this stage knows technical skills as the fields have progressed so far since the 90s and 2000s. Read up more on Wozniak as a result of this thread. What a great guy. I think most of us would rather be him than Jobs. Probably not a billionaire, but as far as I'm concerned, the dude that made Roller Coaster Tycoon is not human. The days before Stack Overflow, or really most of the internet, he made that entire game in assembly. Truly a legend. Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, is a tech genius. He designed the first Apple computers, and his technical skills are well documented. Sergey Brin and Larry Page by far. They both have PhDs in computer science and invented the PageRank algorithm. Bill Gates for sure. But give it a few years and I think Dr. Lisa Su will become a billionaire and will have earned every cent of it. She is incredibly accomplished. And based on how she turned around AMD, probably one of the most successful tech CEOs there is. Probably Sergey Larry. Gabe Newell and Tim Sweeney come to mind. Tim Sweeney was actually responsible for developing Unreal Engine up to version 4. Any of the Amazon or Microsoft founders, or Zuckerberg,